Holy race car. Look at those aerodynamics. Wow, it shows these are all LEDs. But we gotta do struts, or I think it has coilovers, and he's replacing them with struts. So gotta do those, and we have to potentially put on a air oil separator. He's missing a lug nut. Alright, so these front ones are basically the same as every other Subaru. You got your brake line mount over here, it's going to be a 12 millimeter, and you got your ABS wire over here, it's going to be a 12 millimeter. Your strut bolts will both be 19 millimeter on the bolt and the nut side, top and bottom, and your top bolts should be 12 millimeters. If it already has coilovers or something, they may have different hardware on there. It could be a 13 maybe, but typically it's 12. So basically pretty self-explanatory. Take off the 2 mounting bolts, take out these 2 bolts and the 3 on the top. The rears, I personally haven't done these on this generation of a car yet, but I know that the bottom bolts are down here in the control arm. Those look like 17, maybe a 19 on the back side. Can't see it from here. And then there's 2 top bolts. I assume I have to pull some of the trunk lining out to get to those. Hoping I don't have to touch the seats. I hope I can pull some of the trunk interior apart. So we'll show that when we get to there. But I'm just gonna pop all these wheels off and then start doing the front ones. And I didn't say it earlier, but it was pretty obvious these coilovers are blown. At least these front ones are. All the oil's leaking out, the seals are shot, so that's why we're doing them, in case you were wondering. Holy air filter. I don't know why people do this stuff. I wouldn't. I personally do not recommend that. But it'd be different if you had your wheel liner and it was actually protecting it. Alright, so you might have to tap those with a hammer to get them loose. This top one is a camber, it should be a camber bolt, so it's going to have a curved section to it, and it's going to be a little tough to get out depending on how it's positioned. You have to get this other bolt over here for the brake line. So I usually just thread those back into place just to not lose them. When you knock these bolts out, depending how stuck the knuckle is to the strut slash coilover, if it's not like rusted together, the whole lower control arm and knuckle is probably going to drop down, so just watch out. Don't let it hit you anywhere, it might fall. So like I said, this top bolt is a camber bolt. You can see it's all smooth on the one side, on the bottom, and then it has that lip. So depending where that lip is in relation to the knuckle, it's going to push your knuckle in or out for negative or positive camber. And when I hit these bolts out, I usually just lift up a little bit on the bottom of the rotor or the knuckle. This one I'm going to need a punch to hit all the way through. Alright, so that one is about to come out. Like I said, just be ready because the knuckle could or could not fall on you. Not fall on you, but it can drop down and it might startle you. So my stupid magnet would hold. You guys might fall over here. Alright, so the knuckle is stuck in there. So what you want to do now is just kind of wiggle it back and forth. Know that it's free, so sometimes you might need to get a pry bar in there to fully separate it, but at this point, now that I know it's free, I just leave it and I'll go to the top bolts and do those. So sometimes I leave it. I like to work like a little bit below chest height, so I'm not reaching up and grabbing at bolts and stuff. So if you have a little step stool, or if you don't care to step on the wheels slash tires, you can just leave it right at this height and you can get the bolts right here. So we'll do that real quick. You're either gonna have to use a ratchet or a wobble extension or a swivel socket universal. And so another reason why I left that lower section holding itself together is because if you don't and you get these nuts loose, it's going to completely fall and potentially land on your feet or something. So that's another reason I like to leave it connected down here. So now we're all loose up top, and let me zoom you guys out. We're all loose up top. So now you kind of just have to get it separated, but I'm trying to stick you guys to the brake caliper, so this ain't really working too good. Alright, you guys are gonna fall. So we got her loose. This is pretty hard to do with one hand. Probably be easiest to fish it under this ABS wire here. So just like that, your front is out. Same process on the other side, and you know, basically the reverse of the install, or the reverse of that for the install. So I forgot to mention earlier, according to this guy, these are 2015 and up STi struts. I forget which year he said, but the what is it, the VA chassis, I think. Either way, 2015 and up. This is obviously a 11 to 14 WRX, or STi, I'm sorry, STi hatch. So I wasn't aware of this on all the websites. Well, when you go to buy new suspension, it says 11 to 14 is one body style, and then 15 and up is another body style, and they are not interchangeable. But he found on the forums that they're actually the same exact bolt up and everything. They're just Provido drop for this generation. So if you put 15 and up suspension, stock suspension, on a 11 to 14, you get like a 1.2 inch drop from the stock height. So it's a nice like OEM drop option. It's kind of like the equivalent of back in the day of getting like STi springs to put on your WRX. You get like a half-inch drop or something. Anyway, so the only difference is this this ABS wire. So it just has a different mounting point. It doesn't have a bolt nut on the backside, a boss to thread a bolt into. So we're just gonna have to zip tie that, but that's not really a big deal. But I just wanted to mention that this is technically a non-OEM, non-direct fit, but it is direct fit. It just provides a 1 inch drop. So I'll show at the end of the video how it looks with it all on, as far as height wise, because these coilovers were pretty far down. It looked good though, but they were pretty far down. All right, I'm not going to show the this side, and there's no point for me to show the install either. The only thing you have to note is the only difference is the brackets. So this is going to be your passenger side strut, because the brake line's on this side, and this is going to be your driver's side strut because the brake line's on this side. So you just got to figure that out. The rear should be completely the same. All right, so in this situation, if you have coilovers, it's what I said earlier isn't really going to be a problem about the knuckle falling, at least not on the first one, because of your sway bar is tied to both your control arms. If that strut / coilover is still bolted up on the other side, it's going to want to keep this control arm at roughly the same ride height because of the sway bar. So in order to install the new, like whether you're going up or down, you're going to have to unbolt both sides, because I had the other side still bolted up. This control arm was way up here, you can't see. And I was trying to pry down on it, and it just had too much tension because of the sway bar and the other control arm. So just unbolt both sides before you go to put it together, because literally the strut was like rubbing into this boot. So that's, I don't know, 4 to 6 inches roughly, depending where you're measuring from. So yeah, a lot of movement. Also, you can see right there it says right hand side. So this is the passenger side. But all right, just want to give you guys that little tip, because I was fighting it for a second, then I realized what I was doing wrong. But when you go to the other side, that one is going to have a lot of tension on it, because all the weight from that control arm is going to be pulling down on this control arm. And when you get those bolts loose, that last bolt's going to be real hard to knock out probably. And then once you get it out, this one's going to drop hard, the second one. But all right, I'm going to put this in. I'll put both of these in and get working on the back and show you guys how that one's done. All right, we got this side ball bolted up. What I did for the ABS wire was I just, there's this little tab here. I bent that out first. Why is it not focusing? Bent that out and then I zip tied the ABS wire through the hole on the strut, the bracket on the strut, and then I just bent this back over a little bit just to kind of extra secure it. All this is bolted up. You got the brake line in. You will need an alignment afterwards, unless you, well, you can't even do it. Normally, you would mark your strut and your bolt, so there's a line. You know, you have a line on your bolt and a line on your strut, and you would just match those back up. But when you're swapping the struts, obviously that line will not be on your strut. So the only thing you could do a line like what looks like 12 o'clock to you and get it roughly back in line, but you will probably need an alignment. It's recommended. So the top bolts are the 12 millimeters. Those are 15 foot-pounds. They're pretty easy to snap, so be careful. All right, for this rear, the rear struts, that bottom bolt is a 17. Like I said earlier, both sides, the nut and the bolt are both 17. So we're gonna pop that off. We're gonna pop it off on both sides, and then we're gonna pop the trunk and see what it looks like in there. Alright, so you have to pull anything that's in your trunk out. If you have this mat, you gotta pull that out. Then you gotta pull this first piece that covers up your spare tire. And the bolts are under there. It's only 2 of them, and they're positioned pretty well. It's one thing I love about Subarus is they think about when you have to actually work on the car, not just the engineering and design behind it. Well, they don't think about like the realistic portions. They just think about the things on pieces of paper. But anyway, they're positioned pretty nicely. This side's real easy. You can probably get them even with a wobble. This side, for whatever reason, they're a little bit tighter in there, and you have this big bracket here kind of in your way. But I think I'm going to try to get them with just a open-end wrench or a swivel maybe, or I mean a ratcheting wrench. But I do not plan on removing this. It's probably not a big deal. It looks like this pops off, and then these pop off fairly easily. Probably just unscrew these screws. So if you want to make your life easier, you can try that, but I'm just gonna spend the extra, you know, minute or 2 unscrewing them versus the 5 minutes undoing this and putting it back together. So let's see how bad this is. We'll do the little bit tighter side. I believe it's a 14 millimeter. Yep, it's a 14. Oh, knocked you over. But broke it loose. See if we can get the ratchet on there. Yep. So this one, not too bad. I'm actually gonna leave that. Not gonna leave that screwed down because this one's gonna be a lot harder, and this is the one that's now gonna have tension on it. So let's see if we can do this. And let me get the regular wrench. Damn, that thing's tight. Let me see if I can get a ratchet and socket on there. Even better, I'm an idiot. There's this little panel here that pops out and gives you even more access. It literally has a little cutout, so yeah. Watch that. Alright, now that we have that out of our way, we can just get the Milwaukee in here with a little wobble extension. And we're home free. So set that on there. That strut is now loose. Same thing on this side. So I'm not exactly sure. I kind of just pulled on it, but okay. This side must have already been loose. Yeah, you just pry out from the bottom. These bottom tabs hold it in, and then it just slides down. So just pry it out from the bottom. Just be a little careful. The gun's still on number 2 power setting. Alright, so now your back struts are fully unbolted. I'm gonna go back up in the air. We may or may not have to undo the sway bar end links to get enough room on the control arm. Let's see what it looks like. I was able to pry it out. I just pushed the studs all the way up in their holes, and then pried down, or pried under this. So you push the the control arm down and the strut up, and I was able to get it out of there. Just a little crooked after that, so you gotta pull kind of hard. See if I can do it again with one hand on this side, but I don't know how easy it's gonna be. So you can see, I can have both hands in use. You can actually kind of just use your hands. I actually had enough flex with just pushing down on the rotor and didn't need much, but you might need a hand with that if you don't have a good pry bar or something. But that's the other reason why you loosen both struts, so that the sway bar isn't tying the control arms together as much, at least. Alright, I was able to do it. I just pried this control arm off of the other control arm / lateral link back there. And I'm going to do the other side, and then we'll put everything back together. But that's about all you guys need to see. You should, if you have a good decent pry bar, you can get one of these at Harbor Freight for like 20 bucks, maybe 30 nowadays. If you have a decent pry bar, you shouldn't have a problem getting these in. You just gotta put your weight into it and make sure you're on a good part of the, make sure you got a good grip on wherever you're prying off of, and make sure it's not cast aluminum or something that's gonna break. So that's gonna be it for this video. Maybe it'll help somebody out. So if it did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the video, comment, and if you had any questions also, please comment. Thanks again, guys. Peace out. That's how she sits after the 15 STi Struts. I think it looks good, honestly. I think it looks real good. Alright guys, thanks for watching.